Hi and welcome to this video. Anik Ina here, your book doula, helping you write and change lives starting with yours. So today we're talking about what happens when you want to take a step back from your book. Because this happens. We sometimes have an idea, but we don't have the bandwidth or the time or the logistics to turn that idea into a book straight away. Sometimes we have started, but life happens because most of us have a life outside writing, whether that is a business, a family, or just the normal motions of life. And sometimes we just do not have the sufficient bandwidth to give the best to our book, to give the best to producing new words for our book. And one thing that I do repeat to my clients over and over and over again is that there are so many ways to make progress with your book that do not involve writing new chapters, producing new words for your book. Because, as you know, writing a book is not just about writing. There's some research that can go in the process, there's some thinking, playing with things around, brainstorming, reviewing, editing, and getting yourself in the right place. And I'm not only talking about the right geographical place, but the right place mentally, to be able to produce the best words possible for your book, for your audience, and for yourself. Because as we know, writing a book is also a process that will help you change who you are, that will help you revisit beliefs, old beliefs that you had, that will help you actually get insight on who you really are. Because sometimes it is while writing our experiences, while writing what we know, enunciating, articulating it for someone else to understand, that we also gain clarity and ahas. So this is a process that requires us to be in the right headspace as well. And sometimes that's not possible. So what to do, instead of just putting away the book, setting it aside, and then what happens very often is that life takes over and we just forget about the book, I strongly suggest that you find ways to stay connected to the book. So what that means is keeping this flame alive so that when you do have the time available to dedicate to this project, then it is still there. It hasn't died. It hasn't just fizzled out and you have to start all over again. So I have written down 60 ways to make progress with your book, even when you are not writing new words for the book. And I have divided them into 1, 2, 3 categories. So let us jump in right now. First category is the pre-writing improvements. So I have divided that in the first category, which is making your environment pro-writing. Because sometimes when we are not feeling like the words are coming out okay, that we haven't found our groove, it's because we aren't fully in it. We aren't fully aligned or in the right headspace. So we can just take small steps, like making our environment more welcoming for the book, more welcoming for your inspiration, and not just for the inspiration in your head, but also that make you feel more as an author, for you to be more at ease with embracing your role as an author. Because sometimes the blocks to writing are due to our own resistance and fears and insecurities about stepping into our role as authors fully. So these pre-writing improvements that make your environment pro-writing are buying candles that inspire you, for example. It's stimulating the senses. That is something that Chris Emery, my editor, has mentioned several times. It's making your environment, including all of your senses in your writing experience, and using all of your senses to really bring the inspiration to the surface, to boost it. So it could be buying candles that inspire you, or anything that smells good. It could be an air freshener, reed diffuser, essential oils, anything that will get your senses, your sense of smell excited and will get it to work and boost your inspiration. You can buy a new chair or get a new chair that makes you feel like a pro, or clean your current working space, because sometimes when we're writing in a space that feels crowded, our mind feels crowded as well. So tidying up our space, making our space again feel like we are really prioritizing this book project. We are really making it something that we want to make happen, that we want to make it a project and not just an idea that is floating in our heads. So you can decorate the walls with motivational quotes, with pictures that again inspire you, landscapes, or anything that really makes you feel good. You can print inspirational quotes. You can print your why. Remind yourself why you want to write this book. Remind yourself what this book can do to the people who will read it and what it would do to you. And print that on the wall. We have in the workshop, in the writing workshop that you can find on my website, I have this whole exercise where then you can summarize your why and then put it on the wall, so that every time you sit down to write, you can look at it, read it, and really rekindle this flame. So you can print your why. You can print a picture of your ideal reader, someone who you know will really have their lives changed from reading your book. You can stick post-its of reminders of why you're doing it, again, on the walls, in the house, everywhere. It's really about making sure that the book is with you. It's like when you love someone, you know, you don't just remind yourself, I have this out of mind, out of sight, out of mind. So don't let your book go out of sight, out of mind. So keep reminders of the book everywhere. And this could be, as I said, printing your why. It could be post-its with reminders about your book, reminders about you becoming an author, affirmations about people reading the book and loving it and raving about it and writing to you. Thank you notes from people who have read your book. Even though your book hasn't been written yet, you can write yourself thank you notes from potential readers, and post them everywhere. Keep that flame alive. Keep this connection with your book alive. Keep that relationship with your book alive. So I was saying decorate the place as well. Make it feel cozy. Make it feel like a place where your inspiration wants to come and sit. And again, you might not have the bandwidth to do that right now, but you can use the energy, the physical energy that you have to make that place yours, so that it also works as an invitation for that inspiration. And it also works as a way, as I said earlier, to stay connected to the book while you wait for the time and circumstances in your life to allow for it to flow through you, to allow for your inspiration to really start pouring out of you. So this is making your environment pro writing. Then you can do some research. So if you are writing a nonfiction book, like a memoir or a self-help book or a bit of both, you can look back at old pictures of you, read your old journals or posts, and think back about how you felt. This is a way to remember what you used to be like. And very often when we write a book, we are writing this book for our younger selves. We're writing this book for the younger versions of ourselves that needed that book back then. So connecting to your experience back then will help you remember what it is that you need to say and to write and to share right now as you're writing the book, or when you do write the book. You can make notes about that. So look at old pictures of you, reminisce how you were, think back about how you felt, how the issue that you were going through impacted you, and revisit your story in your mind to see if you've forgotten any details or if there's anything that catches your attention. Because sometimes when you go back in time and you try to revisit the stories that you want to share, you realize that, oh, you can connect the dots with other things. So revisiting your story in your mind, talking to friends about that time, talking to friends about their experience with what your subject matter is, interviewing people who have the same problem, and see if there's anything that strikes you, if there's anything that they share with you that you want to address in your book. Find out what their needs are, and if there is anything that you can share from your story that can help as you are talking to them, and see how that resonates with them. Maybe they can have ahas, they can have breakthroughs, and that can help you for your book. You can also record these conversations and transcribe them so that then you can use them as case studies in your book, or just examples in your book and in your business in general. So you can also do some research when it comes to words themselves. I'm a nerd when it comes to that, so you can look up synonyms for verbs, action verbs, emotions, and things like that, just to enrich your vocabulary. This is something that I like doing just because I like it. Not that I'm really going to remember what I've found, but it is staying connected with words. And I know that somewhere those words are gonna stay floating in my brain, and maybe one day they're gonna come out. So it is a way to improve my writing in general, and it is fun. You can read books about writing, listen to podcasts about writing. Speaking of which, I might have something coming for you soon. So you can watch courses about writing. Again, as I mentioned, if you want to have a look at my workshop, this is a way to get your ideas clear, to get clarity, to get foundations laid down, so that when you do be ready, you've got some work done. And I can't emphasize that enough. Writing a book doesn't just start with, oh, I've got an idea. Okay, I sit down and I write. No, there's a lot of steps that lead to that. And these are all little things that are actually going to be part of that process. So we were talking about the mindset earlier. So sometimes what you need to do when the inspiration isn't flowing and you cannot produce new words, a way to make progress is to get rid of the outside interferences and recenter yourself. So sometimes that could be as simple as taking a nap, or you could clear your body, and it depends on what that means for you. So clear your body could be dancing and shaking the energy, dancing and shaking your body so as to shake the energy and remove the blocks, get movement, get those juices flowing. Tap, do EFT, or sometimes the stories that we talk about also make emotions resurface, and sometimes they're emotions that we do not necessarily want to deal with, and that's what creates blocks. So maybe go punch a pillow, go punch the mattress, go punch a pillow, go take a run. Really get rid of that energy that is resurfacing and that you can't let out, or that you have resistance with letting out. So sometimes that also means sitting with these emotions and letting them come up and being with them and witnessing them. So maybe it's just sitting down, making a cup of tea or coffee and sitting down and letting those emotions come up without judgment. Just sitting with them and letting them flow through you, because that's how you let them be transformed and healed. You can do some jumping jacks. Again, moving the juices, moving the energy. You can go for a swim, for a walk. You can go sit in nature. You can read something inspirational, something about healing, something about the story, your own story that you've experienced. If it's I don't know exactly, self-love and healing your inner child, so you can read something about that, and maybe that's going to give you more inspiration about what you want to write and how you want to write it. What's the angle that you want to take? So you can also throw yourself a pity party. So it could be a pity party related to you not having the time to write, you not feeling the inspiration, feeling like you're stuck, having this writer's block. Or it could be a pity party also, and I don't want to call this a pity party, but let's say a sad party, where you actually allow yourself to feel the sad feelings that might come up while you are writing your story, while you are sharing parts of what you've experienced. So maybe get yourself a box of tissues and some comfort food and get on the couch with a blanket and put on some sad music even and let yourself feel those sad feelings. Let them come up, cry, and let the emotions flow again, knowing that these emotions are not who you are, and just letting them flow, because when they flow through you, they unclog your inspiration channels and they allow yourself to sit down again and be able to write. And that also applies to happy feelings. Allow yourself to celebrate how far you've come. Allow yourself to celebrate that you are not in that place anymore. Put on some happy music and throw yourself a celebration party. Another thing that you could do is playing with your outline. So this could be reordering your chapters. So if you've got some work that you've done already, like your outline, you can have a look at your outline, reorder it, move things around, flesh it out, take more notes on what you want to write, add chapters to that outline, pick a chapter, a specific one, and outline it even further, like bullet point outlines. You can sort your outline into sections and subsections, and that especially works if you've done a brain dump of all the things and the stories that you wanted to share but haven't really ordered them to create your writer's experience, your writer's journey, your point A to point B. What are the readers going to get from your book? Where are they at when they start? And how is your book going to take them through a journey and get them to this famous point B? So you can rearrange your stories and points and lessons that you want to share in order to create that journey. And again, the workshop tells you in more details how to do that. You can identify the themes for your book. Again, if you've only done a brainstorm of the various things that you want to share, you can group them into themes. You can identify how these themes show up in each chapter, because sometimes we know we want to write stories, we want to share some stories, but we haven't really thought about what is the through line. What is the common theme between those stories, and what are the lessons that we can share when we take all those stories and analyze them? So that was the pre-writing improvements that you can make to get rid of writer's block, boost your inspiration, or just stay connected with the book as you are waiting for inspiration to flow through you again. And then you've got meta writing improvements. So meta writing improvements could be writing about your writing process. So let's say you are feeling blocked and you can't write new chapters in your book. So you can write about it. And this is something that I always tell my clients. Feeling like you've got writer's block? Write about it. Write about how writing makes you feel. Write about how not being able to write makes you feel. Write about how easy it is and how happy you are about that. Or how hard it is and what your experience, what your challenges are. You can write about the emotions that writing your book is bringing back into your life. You can write about how you feel about becoming an author. And when I say write, basically I mean journaling. Free flowing, letting your words free flow on a page and letting the emotions again flow out. Flow is the key word. Flow through you, flow out of you. You can write about how the writing is impacting your life, because sometimes doing this, writing about the process, allows us to actually realize where our resistance lies. And once we acknowledge our resistance, we give it the space to dissipate or to work on it. You can write about your fears. That is always a great exercise to do, because in free writing about what your fears are about your book, you can realize where your resistance lies. And if you're working with someone, a coach, a mentor, or even a writing partner, you can discuss those fears and they can help you turn those fears around or reframe them. You could also write about how you would like to feel when you finish this book. This is a great way to stay motivated or to rekindle the motivation when inspiration and motivation have gone when you're experiencing writer's block as well. Writing about, I always confuse reading and writing. So if what I say doesn't sound right, try it again with the other word, reading or writing. So you can write about how you would like to feel when you finish the book, and it's a way for you to connect with those emotions and draw the path that will lead you to there. You can get creative. So write a letter to yourself from your ideal reader, thanking you for sharing your story and how it's changed your life, their life. So I mentioned the post-its earlier, but this could be like a full letter. The more you write, the more thank you write to you, the bigger the thank you, the bigger the motivation is going to be. Or it can highlight the pressure that you feel, that you won't be able to meet your readers' expectations. And that is great, because then you know that this is part of your resistance and you can work on that. You can journal about that. You can shed some light. We know fear doesn't live in the light. So when you shed light, this is my torch, when you shed light on your fears, they kind of dissipate or they actually shrink. Write a letter to your inspiration. So if you are experiencing writer's block, or as I said earlier, if you can't write right now for logistical reasons, you can write a letter to your inspiration to ask her to wait for you. Or you can, if you're having writer's block, you can write a letter to your inspiration. It can be an angry letter, or it can be a letter saying, please come back and help me. Whatever you want, but it is still a way to stay connected to the book, to stay connected to your writing practice, because I cannot stress that enough. What takes writers from idea to finished book is showing up for the book. And it's way easier to show up for the book, it's way easier to write down the words than to actually make time to sit down and write them. At least it is for a lot of the people that I've worked with, and I know for myself as well. It is way harder to leave Netflix and sitting on the couch and doing nothing, or listening to an audiobook and sitting down at my computer, than it is to actually write. Because once I sit down and I decide that I am going to write, I just write. So it is the sitting down that is more important. And very often, again, fears, resistance, insecurities will grow that resistance. So working on ways to shed light on that resistance will help shrink the resistance and make it easier for you to sit down and write. So you can work on your writing. So writing down a timeline for your life in terms of feelings. And that is something that I've done with my clients, that I ask them to do when we work together. When they want to share the story of their lives, I often ask them to write down a timeline for their life in terms of how they felt. So not at age 6, I went to school. At age 8, I had my first bicycle. No, it's like when I was a child, when I was 3, I felt loved. When I was 4 and my sister came into the world, I felt abandoned. When I was 6 and my mom had to travel a lot for work, I felt neglected. When I was 13 as a teenager, I felt misunderstood. These are all examples I'm giving you. But it's great to have a timeline of your life in terms of emotions and feelings, so that you can actually see if there's a pattern and if there are stories that could go with that you want to share. You can create an emotion bank. If you don't know what an emotion bank is, I've talked about that in the Impact workshop on how to write words that speak to your readers' hearts. And I'll put a link somewhere for you to check it out. But an emotion bank is a way for you to show instead of telling. Instead of saying, for example, I was sad, you can say, or I was nervous. That's a better example. Instead of saying I was nervous, you can think of all the ways you could describe being nervous without telling, how you can show that without telling. So you could say, my mouth went dry and I struggled to swallow, or I wiped my sweaty hands on my trousers. Or you can think about all the ways you could represent an emotion without necessarily naming it, because that's a more impactful way of drawing in your readers and having them experience what you are describing. You can write a character sheet for the people who come up in your story. So when you're writing your story, you might have people that you will talk about. So make a list of features, characters that are important about that person that you can share later. So let's say, for example, you had someone that was always there for you and very supportive. So you can make a character sheet, talk about their warm smile, talk about how they had a soft voice, write about how they called you every Saturday to know how you are, or just fill in the details so that then you can add those details, weave those details into your story when the time comes. You can make lists, so there's an infinite amount of things you can make lists about. But I'd say one, you can write down 20 reasons why you need to write your book. Again, sit down and make that list. Don't think too much about it. Just jot down everything that comes to your mind. Because again, it is moving things in your head, and this might move your inspiration as well. And if you're not struggling with writer's block, but you're just trying to stay connected to the book, well, here's a way to stay connected to the book, writing down 20 reasons why you should write it. You can also write down 20 reasons why people need to read it. And you may say, these are the same things, why I need to write this book and why people need to read it. No. Why people need to read it, okay. But why you need to write this book, it could be for your own healing, for example, and that's got nothing to do with why people need to read it. It could be because it will help you position yourself as an expert. It could be because it gives you an outlet for your creativity. So 20 reasons why you need to write this book that aren't necessarily 20 reasons why people need to read it, because then you can have a separate list for that. You can make a list of the lists you could make to write this book. So, for example, number 1, make a list of 20 reasons why people need to read this book. Number 2, 20 reasons why you need to write this book. Number 3, 20 reasons how this book is going to change your life. Number 4, 20 ways in which this book can help your business. Number 5, 20 ways you can market this book. So you can make so many lists. And making a list of the lists is a way to, again, get the creativity, get the things moving in your head so that the inspiration can keep flowing. And again, as I said, you stay connected to your book. And not only you stay connected, but you connect even further to your book. We're getting to the end of this list. Post-writing improvements. So if you've already written parts of your book, you can correct your voice-to-text transcriptions. For example, if you've used voice-to-text to write, you can actually voice-to-text things, and then you can transcribe them or edit the transcription. That's a way to get not necessarily new words that are in the book, but new words that will then help you get new words to go in the book. So you can record voice notes. You can record those voice notes in Otter, OTTER.ai, and have it transcribe these, and then you can correct those voice to text transcriptions. You can edit your past chapters and improve them, and going through your past chapters may give you some new insights as to what new chapters you need to write or what you need to include in your new chapters. And you can proofread your past chapters. So again, it seems silly, but it is a way to stay connected to your book and to keep that flame alive as you're waiting for the bandwidth to be there, the circumstances to be there, or your writer's block to dissipate and your inspiration to flow back. But again, remember that all of these things do not happen by themselves. You need to give them a little boost. You need to be co-helping them to happen, co-creating with the book and giving yourself the opportunity to write this book and to experience the beauty of it and to experience all the transformation it can bring into your life, for yourself personally, for your personal growth, for your business, and the satisfaction that you can get from knowing that you have done that. And what else are you going to do now that you've written a whole book? And also for the surprises that it can bring into your life. So I hope you've enjoyed this video. I hope you found it helpful. You have the list somewhere in the email or in the link here. And if you have any questions, or if you want to add, I'm curious, if you want to add the ways that you have created or that you have chosen to stay connected to your book when you are not writing, or to get rid of writer's block, please do share them in the comments. All right, so thanks for watching this, and thanks for writing this book on your behalf and on the behalf of your future readers. So take care and bye-bye. Happy writing.